right? It's just that.
And at some point, we started off not being, and as we progress through life,
If we do, we'll fix it, right? Like that's the.
don't Google how to do everything in the world. Well,
It's safe. It's a
yeah,
safe place for us.
it is
It's a
safe. You don't
safe
have to put
place.
your ego out there and be vulnerable. I'm not begging you to change your tire. There's somebody else I can help down the road.
You're listening to the Roofing Success Podcast, a show created to inspire roofing contractors to achieve optimal success in their roofing businesses. I'm the host, Jim Aline, the co-author of the books Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors and The Best Known Roofer. I'm also the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, the leading digital marketing agency for the roofing industry. On each episode, I sit down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in roofing. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you have, there's these buttons in front of you. If you're on a computer or if you're on your phone, some might say subscribe, some might say like, follow. Hit some of those for me. Leave us a review, leave us a comment, do all of those things. And if you want to take the conversation beyond what you're just listening to here, go to Facebook, type in Roofing Success and join the Roofing Success Facebook group. Today I have my friend Russ Gordon from Dragon Scale Roofing out of Tennessee. How you doing, man?
Doing great, Jim. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. How, for the audience who may not be aware of you or Dragon Scale Roofing, how did Dragon Scale come to be?
Man, that's a story in itself. We can take up the whole podcast on that one. It's a bit of a long story. I've done sales and marketing leadership for a long time, and leading sales meetings and motivational meetings. I always told people, go out there and be that guy, be that gal, and we're warriors and we slay dragons, right? Nothing stops us. And when I decided to open up this company, I decided we're going to be the dragon they all want to slay. So it all just kind of came together. Dragon scales, roof shingles. I mean, it just kind of fit and fell in place.
Yeah, awesome. Let's talk about like your experience. You've been in the industry for a while. What's your journey been?
I've been in sales and marketing and construction pretty much all my life, and got into roofing sales, worked for a couple of companies over the years, found a company that I was with a little bit long term, started off knocking on doors, man, went out there and loved it. I love playing the sales game, right? Had a great time, kind of moved up, became a sales manager. And next thing I know, I'm running an office and became a regional manager. And kind of the more I moved up that chain, more I was just getting burnt out. I didn't enjoy it. This is a great gig and it's a fun job, but I was dealing with things that just didn't match my ethos, and it just came to a head. I would say over a couple of months, I was really trying to consider, do I move forward? Do I take the next step? Do I just retire? I mean, at the time I was sitting on a 37-acre farm in North Georgia and I never got to enjoy the thing. And I wound up getting out of it. There was, I won't say there's any bad blood, but I was frustrated. I'm sure they were frustrated, and I was done. I retired. And Jim, if you've done anything in any industry for a long time, talk goes around really quick. My phone started blowing up. Everybody wanted me to come work for them, and I didn't want to do it. I was done. But I've got that heart to help. So I did a lot of consulting. Enjoyed that. Worked for a lot of different sales organizations for a few years. And I kind of got to a point where I was taking some people and some business owners and some salespeople, and I was helping them, and it was very satisfying. And then I was seeing a lot of things that, again, just didn't match my ethos. People were starting to make money and then not care about people, not care about quality. And again, it was very, very defeating for me. And I didn't want to do it anymore. Once again, I was making amazing money, and I honestly felt guilty for the money I was making, if you'll know the truth. And I got with my tight circle, and my wife, some employees that I've had that I trust, and I said, you know what, we keep preaching the same thing, and we're not practicing what we preach. So let's put our money where our mouth is. And we loaded up, came to Tennessee. Um, had no house, had no office, had no staff. I literally booked an Airbnb on the trip up here, and we walked in here and we hit the ground running. And it's been an amazing trip. We're here to try to change the roofing industry, not do the same thing that's being done. And I know that sounds, how do you do it differently? Right, roofing is roofing, but we're having an amazing time right now.
That's fun, man. I would say the most consistent theme through the 150 episodes that I've done here and the contractors that I've interviewed, it's always been either the company I'm working for or just the industry in general. I see it's not the way that I want it to be,
Yeah.
right? And there's like there's a pull that comes along with that. Like you got to do something about it, right? But you talked about your consulting with some people and even working in the industry with the larger companies you worked with, and what do you think happens? Because there's something that changes when maybe at a certain revenue level, when someone gets comfortable with their finances, or what happens when it's like, heck with it, man, just go out and make the company money. We don't care about the quality as much anymore. We don't care about, what do you think happens?
I've thought about that for quite a while, and I heard a quote just a couple weeks ago that I have played over and over in my head so many times. Um, you know, we all kind of understand the measure of success, right? Success is material. I've got the money, I've got the car, I've got the house, I take the trips. And how many successful people do we know that really aren't happy, right? And we focus so much on success. It's all over social media. It's in all the podcasts. Be successful. We don't focus on greatness. And the difference between success and greatness: success you can measure in material things. Greatness is what you give back. And I think that we get in this industry, and we take and we gain and we want more and more, and the next level of success. And there's a lot of people who are miserable, and because we don't give back, because we don't teach, because we don't educate, because we don't help, because we don't donate. And for me, I've been successful for a number of years. I'm blessed beyond what I deserve, Jim. And I'm not chasing success. I'm chasing greatness, and I don't mean that in an egotistical way whatsoever. I mean that in, we're on this rock for a short period of time, and we can do some good things or we can do some bad things. But at the end of the day, we got to go to bed with ourselves. So, for me, it was no longer focusing on the success. It was focusing on the greatness. Um, Kind of redesigned everything. I've got 6 books that I literally, refer to as my business Bible. And, we worked off of that. And I mean, I have no turnover. I had a State Farm desk adjuster call me last week, raving about our company and our sales reps and our office staff and our estimator. I mean, you heard I said from State Farm, right? That doesn't happen. So what is the secret sauce? I don't know, but I do know that there's a lot of misery that can come with success, and there's
That's a
not a
great
whole
way to
lot of
put it.
misery that comes from trying to do good things.
Yeah, and that the China, everything is just, I mean, it's a shift in words, it's a shift in mindset, right? A lot of times, and so the shift from success, which is material, to greatness, which is almost immeasurable in some ways, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, but that's an amazing concept. I love the way that you're working with this. What 6 books make up your business Bible?
In no particular order.
No particular
I'm a
order. Yeah.
huge fan of Brene Brown. She's got several things out there, but Daring Greatly, to me, that is the book that you have to read as an entrepreneur, as a leader. You got to get yourself right, and she addresses it from such an angle that I don't care what you're doing in life. One of my greatest books, and it doesn't hurt that she stole the title from one of my greatest favorite speeches. Not my greatest speech, obviously I didn't give it, but Roosevelt's Man in the Arena. But a great book. After that is Leadership, John C. Maxwell. Leadership was probably where I had a paradigm shift, because I was doing what I had always seen done, right? I was cracking the whip.
Mm.
I was, yelling and screaming, why aren't you doing better? And leadership, John C. Maxwell talks about, we kind of hear it, right? Lead from the front, lead from the back, but he talks about leading as a servant. And when you can get that mindset that these people in this building, I mean, I signed their paycheck, but I work for them. My job is to make their job easier and more efficient and more productive. So without a doubt, Mike Michalowicz, 2 books of his, Profit First. It is, my accountants hate it. I've had multiple accountants that like they scratch their head until they figure it out. But we run a strong margin. Money is always in the bank. Bills are always paid. Profit First is great. He also wrote Clockwork. I'm not the guy, if you've read Clockwork, I'm not looking to take a month's vacation or whatnot, like he says in the book, but the entire book is, if you want to get your team gelling in your systems and your processes, where you can step away. And, I had a conversation with somebody I was consulting with a few weeks ago. And, there's a big difference between being self-employed and being an entrepreneur. Clockwork is all about being an entrepreneur. I don't work for this company. I work on it. I help it. Good Authority, Jonathan Raymond, outstanding book. And these are all books I've read multiple times. And then Joy at Work, Dennis Bake, was probably one of the most eye-opening things I've ever read. The way he went about things in his industry and his company, and the struggles and the failures that he had in trying to implement that joy through empowerment and whatnot. Those books, I mean, I'm the guy who's always reading, and it's hard for me to say, and I've read forever, right? I mean, Stephen Covey, Brian Tracy, I mean, the greats, and they're all books I would recommend, but anybody who is getting into any type of business or any life change paradigm, those are absolutely my top 6.
Yeah, that's awesome. And there's a lot of foundation there in those 6 books. I love the foundation that those 6 books build. And you'd mentioned the self-employment versus entrepreneurship. I've talked about this many times, and we've probably had this conversation too. I love the cash flow quadrant from Robert Kiyosaki, the E, S, B, and I in the quadrants, and kind of how you work through those, or can work through those in your life. You start off as an employee, you build some skills, and then you take those skills and you try to do it better, or and you but you're self-employed at that point in time. And I think that's an easier leap than the leap between the S and the B, from self-employment to business ownership. That one, I see more people struggle with that one than taking the leap into entrepreneurship, right? Or taking the leap into business ownership.
Yeah, I think a lot of it also is, you when you take that leap, you want to micromanage and be in control because it's your destiny. Yeah. And it's against everything in our human nature to let that control go, to learn how to delegate. And you're talking to a guy who was a control freak. It was the hardest thing for me to learn. And I still struggle with it. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. But my staff will get so mad at me right now. They'll come in with a problem, and I'll look them dead in the eye and go, great problem. I just got hit by a bus. I'm dead. So how are you going to figure it out? What would your solution be? And it's amazing that 90% of the time they've got the answer. They just need that encouragement to act upon it.
That's an amazing question to ask people, right? I've heard that same question in multiple ways, where it's like, if I wasn't here, what would the answer be?
Yeah.
So even if my friend Nick, who owns another digital marketing agency in the real estate space, He does that, like where essentially his employees have to have the answer. Don't bring me questions, bring me answers, and I can help you shape that answer. Like, are we going in the right? Is this answer like where we want to, the direction that we want to go? Right? Like, are we going in? But allowing your team that ability to come up with the solution is so powerful. Both of us, we've had this conversation. Both of us believe in building a business, not being self-employed, right? So, and I know that was kind of a lot of the consulting you did was around process and building the team and things like that. Where if someone is in that self-employed state, right? How do they make what is the process to getting to the business ownership mindset or going that direction?
I mean, I think first thing you have to understand ultimately what your goal is, and that's going to be very, very lasered. Once you do that, you have to kind of reverse engineer. Same way we do with any goals, right? Here's my goal for the year. What is it for the month, the week, the day, et cetera. But you got to reverse engineer those processes, and then you got to be honest with yourself. What am I really good at, and what is it that I'm not great at? And you start hiring for the people, the people for what you're not great at to start with. Another great book, and I'm not a huge EOS guy, but there's a lot of good stuff that comes from EOS, and you have to figure
Yeah.
out if you're the visionary or the implementer, and fill those roles around you. Um, you know, you it's difficult when you're getting started to go and spend the money. We came to Nashville, and for the first 6 months, I had more staff in the office than I had reps in the field, and my OpEx was insane. And the number of people that told me I was doing it wrong, I was doing it crazy. And maybe I was. I don't know. We've made good money, and again, we're trying to change the way we face the industry. Now we're at a point that we've overcome we've launched off the launch pad. We broke out of the atmosphere, and now it's momentum. And bringing those people in and going, I have to pay this payroll and I have to let go of control. It's difficult. And then for me, again, going back to EOS, you've got to have that buffer. It's very difficult sometimes for me to go 3 employees down. I don't stand on top of them. I honestly, I don't know everything they do every day, and I shouldn't know. So for me to walk in there and tell or ask, why are you doing it this way, or why don't you do it that way? I mean, and I still do it, but it's the dumbest damn thing in the world. When
Yeah.
I can go to somebody else, go, hey, this is what I see is happening in this department. Why is it happening? If you don't know, please go find out. Let me know. And it creates an environment, a cohesion, if you will. It creates a team, not just a place that people show up to work at. So, you know, long answer to your question again, but it's being willing to let go, being willing to be honest with yourself and go, these are things I'm not great at. You don't want me
Yeah.
to be the accountant. You don't. I have a CFO sitting in the office behind me. That's her
I,
job. I had to make a $25,000 spend last week. I didn't write that check, so I called her in here and go, "Hey, it's what I want to spend. I mean, it's my money, right?" But it's not. It's in having that trust in your people. And if she would have said no, I wouldn't wrote the check. We wouldn't spend the money.
yeah, I have a thing I like to say. As you're starting to grow a business, I when we were as growing roofer marketers, hire what I procrastinate.
Yes.
Like as soon as if I'm procrastinating it on that task, on that thing all the time, I know it's not me, right? Like that's not a core competency of mine. It's something that maybe I could get done, but it'll take me way too long.
Yeah.
That's hiring those people. But I think that so another thing I like to say is that if you have faith in the outcome, you'll execute. So I think that a lot of people don't have faith that if they hire those people, that the outcome will end up being what it is, right? So when you said you went to Nashville, you built up the office team before you even built up the sales team, but because you knew the outcome,
Right.
right? You had complete faith. You had a clear vision and a path to that vision where I think a lot of people struggle with that. They don't see, they may have that goal, right? But they don't see the path in between the goal.
And to kind of expand on that, another part of it is most people view failure the wrong way. They don't see that because they're afraid to fail. Oh my God, what if? What if? And I use the analogy, it's like the kid on the top of the high dive, terrified to jump off. Once you jump, gravity's going to take over. There's nothing wrong with failure. That's how we learn. I've never once seen a baby go from crawling to walking without falling on his diaper a handful of times, right? And
That's
and,
right.
and in fact, it's part of our company ethos that my employees wrote the ethos. I had nothing to do with it. And one of their core values is fail forward, embrace failure. Try not to have a colossal failure if you can help it. Let's don't do something catastrophic. But I think a lot of folks that are starting off in business, oh my God, what if I fail? What if you fail? I mean, I don't think you're going to die. Start over,
That's right.
learn from it, do something different. It's okay.
Learn from it. That's the thing. I talk to my kids about this. I have 8-year-old twin boys, and they'll, you know, it's a weird thing with being human, right? Where we have that fear of failure. Well, what if I can't do it well? So I don't even want to try because I don't think I'm going to be able to do it well. Are you? And I always go back to that analogy. Well, you didn't know how to walk, right?
Yeah.
Like, and 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 do you see your baby cousin over there trying to walk and falling over and just getting up and falling over and getting up and falling over, and pretty soon he'll be able to run around like you, right? It's just that.
And at some point, we started off not being afraid. And as we progress through life,
Yeah.
we're afraid to fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing.
If I hire somebody and pay all this money, what if I can't meet payroll? What if I can't? And those voices can be loud. If you don't have a
Very
very
loud.
clear vision of where you're going, and again, you have to go back. You have to have a clear process and a plan, and you don't do it all at once.
Yeah.
We're constantly making tweaks around here. In fact, anytime I interview somebody for staff, I tell them if you don't like change, you're going to hate working here, because I'll walk in and this is working good, but what if we move all these pieces around and let's see what happens. We had an incident at the end of last year, and I was adamant we're going to do this. And my operations manager goes, I think this is a horrible idea. I said, cool. I take that under advisement. I have the 51% vote. We're going to do this. We're going to do it for 90 days. 90 days later, we sat down and went, that was a bad idea. That sucked. But she said, but you know what? We learned this, this, and this that we can now
That's right.
implement. So now we're going to go through another change. And, water is either moving or it's stagnant. You got to be moving. You got to be willing to take educated risks.
Yes. Educated risks. And that education comes from, you know, continuous learning, reading, being in mastermind groups, doing, having coaches, doing, bringing in consultants, bringing in people from with different kind of mindset, allowing your employees, like you said, with your ops for allowing people to have those conversations with you and tell you, we think you're wrong.
Yeah.
you know?
And everybody from sales reps, they know they're welcome to go, Russ, I think you're full of crap on this one. Okay, tell me why. Change my mind.
That's right.
And sometimes they do.
And
And that's the other side to it. You mentioned it, masterminds and consultants and whatnot. I had a conversation with John Cenac a while back, and I told him, I said, we talk about it's lonely at the top, but what we don't talk about is, it's very isolating. Everybody comes to the owner. Everybody comes to the boss. Here's my problems. Here's my concerns. Here's my worries. Here's my ideas. And another place that you've got to be willing to spend money is you've got to have somebody else that you can go to. get into
Hmm.
masterminds. I mean, I pay two consultants that I talk to, and most of the time, those phone calls go something like, hey Jim, I got this great idea. I want you to talk me out of it. I want you to tell me that it's stupid. And sometimes they do, and sometimes like, no, I think that's amazing. I'm like, well, all right, crap, that didn't. All right, I guess we're gonna do it. You
Yeah.
be willing to put your ego aside. I don't care how long you've done it. I don't care how good you are at it. Um, I can learn from anybody. I can absolutely learn from anybody. I've taken sales reps out brand new, and I've seen them say something at the door, and I go, "That's genius." I'm using that from now on. And I've done this stuff for a minute now. So put your ego aside.
Yeah, there's always a better way in some ways, right? Like there's always an iteration that you can make. Just even in those small iterations, right? Just small iterations and those can but that continuously small little iteration here, little iteration there, everything changes. Nothing is set in stone. That's I think I mentioned this on another podcast recently, but I heard someone talk about this recently where we're putting finite rules on an infinite game.
Yeah,
And I was like, that's
I
that
like that.
happens so much, right? We're putting these, how did the year go? How did the month go? How did the week go? This is a business that you want to own forever or that you want to be in existence forever, right? Like if you're building it with the long-term mindset, you have lessons of the week and of the month and of the year, but they're just the lessons that happen along the way, right? They're not the end all be all of your business. um
And you talk about that. It's amazing the paradox that we've put ourselves in this society in this age. We carry in our hands so much information. We will Google, we will YouTube, we will look, and it's second nature, right? But we
yeah.
will not go to an individual and use the power of their brains, right? We'll do it with a screen between us, and I don't understand why you get so many folks who are closed minded with individuals, but
Mm.
they'll Google how to do everything in the world. Well, an individual wrote what you're finding on Google, right? You understand that, right?
It's safe. It's
Yeah,
a safe place for us.
it is
It's a
safe. You don't
safe
have to put your
place.
ego out there and be vulnerable. 100%.
You don't have to be vulnerable, and that's what it is. I'm in a lot of masterminds. I have coaches, the same thing, and sometimes you have those conversations and it's like, yeah, you definitely have to put your ego aside.
Yeah, yeah. Which is tough when you have a big ego, right? So
That's right. But ego is important, I think, in business too. Like
yes,
ego and competitiveness, I think that you have to have some of that fire, right? Some of that. But it's train. What's it? Like taming the lion or training. What's the analogy? The warrior in the garden. I'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war,
right,
right?
right.
If you build the skill set of a warrior, you don't need you don't you may have an ego about it, about yourself because of that, but you know how to control it.
Yes.
That's a lot of people
And that
lose
control
on
is
the
hard. That
that
control, that self discipline. I mean, and we all
Ooh,
fail at it, right? I mean, again, we go back to that failure, but you have to be self aware enough to go, all right, stop it, cut it out.
that's right. That's right. So that's a big one. The self-awareness. That's understanding where you are, what you taking that step back, looking at yourself, looking at your company from a different perspective, right? From the outside looking in. As one of the things that you mentioned kind of in launching Dragon Scale was that like you didn't like the way the industry was going in certain aspects, the reputation of the industry. There's definitely a reputation in the roofing industry, right? What are the things that you have set out to change that with your business? Like what are some of those things that, hey, these are the things that I don't want this in the industry anymore?
Right. Um, again, number one, we spent a little over a month with my staff writing out our company ethos, and they're not just words on paper. We in fact, and we have a staff huddle meeting every day, and everybody has to give an ethos consideration that's going on. And we make that very, very front of mind. But that said, it starts down to hiring the new sales reps. Number one, I don't hire people with experience, especially not experience in this industry. That's a non-starter for me because I don't know what bad habits you have from the rest of the industry. When I do bring people in, I tell them that I don't like the word salesperson, but there is not another word in the English language that describes what we do. And number one, if you can go out there and stop being greedy about your wallet and go out there with a sincere desire to help somebody, your wallet will take care of itself. And there's kind of two sides to that, right? So what's another side to our industry? We're kind of looked at a lot like the used car salesman. We're pushing, 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 and I teach it, and then I go out in the field and I show it. When I walk up somebody's door, Jim, excuse my French, I don't give a damn if they want to do business with me or not. And it's the same mentality. If I pull in behind you and you're on the side of the interstate with a flat tire, and I walk up there and go, hey, man, you need some help with your tire. And you go, no, I don't need any help. I'm not begging you to change your tire. There's somebody else I can help down the road. And I think once you get that, I'm here to help, and you believe it, it's not just words, you explode. The level of customer service goes up. The way you treat the adjusters in the field goes up. Again, we don't do battle with adjusters. They're out there to do their job. We all know that their job is, they want to mitigate as much loss to the insurance company to their boss as possible. I get it. The guy in the field is not the one to fight with. I have a staff in here that if we disagree, we take our case and go, hey, here's a problem. And we're also fully transparent with the homeowners. We don't go out there and go, hey, I'm going to overpromise. We go out there and tell them, look, you got insurance. It looks like storm damage. 50-50 shot. Maybe we can get them to do something. I'll be honest with you. They're probably more interested in collecting your premiums than they are in paying money out. It's going to be a little bit of a battle. I mean, we're going to help you. You're probably going to get involved in this a little bit. And, right up to production, when we go out there and we actually sign the contract, we pick out, what color the new roof is going to be. My staff is trained. You paint a horror story. I mean, man, we're going to rip your roof off. We're going to throw it in the yard. Nails, shingles, debris are going to go all over the place. We're going to smash your bushes. There's a good chance we might break a window. I mean, and then when we do it and we make a mistake, they knew that we might make a mistake. They knew that we'll fix it. But when there are no mistakes, when they come out here and they see this thing is, all over the place and nails everywhere, and the finished product a few hours later that it's clean and pristine, when you set the expectations of how horrible it could be, instead of setting expectations of how great we're going to be, that sets yourself up for failure over here. Setting myself up for, look, this could be the worst thing you go through, and it's not, set you up for success. And again, it's very difficult for people to, we want to go out there, we want to overpromise, we want to tell them, oh, it's going to be great, it's going to be amazing, it's going to be easy, it's going to stop doing that. You can't control what you can't control. We've all hit an air conditioning line, busted a water line, flooded a house, something, broke a window. Tell them, you know what? Good chance we're going to do it again on your house, but it's okay. We do. We'll fix it. It's just stuff.
If we do, we'll fix it, right? Like that's there's so much power in in setting those expectations properly. And then when things go smoothly, man, that's a great experience. But on the other side of it, this is where it's important that what you're saying is that when something happens, they know that you're going to be there to fix it.
Yes.
What I think happens a lot of times when the narrative is set the other way and it's all going to be easy and it's all smooth sailing, don't worry about it. When something happens, the homeowner doesn't understand or doesn't know if you're going to be there for them.
Yeah, you lied to them. You told me it was all going to be sunshine and rainbows, and now it's raining. You lied to me, and now all my doubts and my shields and my walls go up. So I mean, part one is we under promise and over deliver. Part two is I'm not out here to destroy adjusters. The guy on the roof, he don't make the final decision. Cool. You don't think that that's damage? Write it up how you see it, man. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And having those phone calls when you do have to call in with a disagreement with an ounce of respect. Don't get me wrong. If we have to go all the way to litigation because you're not taking over a homeowner, I'm not afraid to do that. But we don't start off with that. We don't start off with we're going to appraisal and we'll have the no. Look, most of these guys that are sitting at a desk at an insurance company, they took 3, 4, 5 hours worth of training and to be an expert in this stuff. We're the guy. It's our job to educate. It's our job to help them understand why they need to do their job. Is it frustrating? Of course it is. Guess what? That's why it's called work.
So here's something that's interesting to me. You like people that are green in the industry and like to train them up.
Yes.
But we're also needing those people to be have a level of knowledge that they can work with that adjuster and talk to them and have those intelligent conversations. What's your process there? How are you taking that person, and how long does it take usually to get that person up to a level that you're like, yeah, they're doing a good job. They're saying the right things. Their knowledge has really gotten to a level where we're happy.
I think the old days of somebody wants a job, just because they want a job, you hire them to have a warm body, put them in the truck, let's go out in the field right now and try to, cram a square peg into a round hole and see if you can sell a roof. And unfortunately, I think it still happens a lot in this industry right now. It doesn't work. I'll have 10, 15 interviews for a sales rep before I'll hire 1 or 2 people. And when I do, they've got 5 weeks of training, and I'm going to pay them for that. Don't be afraid to spend some money. You got to make investments, right? Scared money don't make money. And it's a lot of, classroom field, now on your own because I need you to go fail. And I tell them, like, I expect you to screw it up today. Like, I really do. And you're going to call me about things you screwed up because, we got 3 ways of learning, right? Visual, auditory, kinesthetic. You've got to see it here. Then you got to go out there and touch it. You got to do it. We bring them back in. And usually by the end of that 5 weeks, they're making real money off of a contract. And then from there, I don't let them go. First of all, we write contracts in the office. I don't, sales reps should sell. They shouldn't manage a job, in my opinion. What do I know? I don't know. They shouldn't manage a job. They don't need to be writing contracts and figuring out scopes and work not doing. And we handle all of that for them. But even when it's time to go get the contract signed, which is literally, it's all highlighted, initial sign, what color you want your roof to be. We go out there with them for the first 3. We sit there, we make sure they're right. We go on their first handful of adjuster meetings. We set the example of what we want to have them do. And I think it makes a lot of difference. One, it shows that we've got some give a damn. You're not just another, face that I hope you go sell a roof and make me some money. 2, it keeps us consistent, and part of that 5-week training, you're being paid a salary. And if I see that you are not in line with our ethos, with our culture, with our values, hey, look, buddy, you know what? This isn't going to work. Have a nice day. I'll give you a great reference somewhere. It's okay. No hard feelings. And in doing that, Adam Bensman says it all the time: hire slow, fire fast. And in that first 5 weeks, that's absolutely the mantra. But now you've got folks who have made a little bit of money during training. We've got a bonus structure so they can make more. They're learning to now trade effort for money instead of trading time for money like they did at their last job. We get them out there. We get some contracts going, and they can hold their own after the first 5 weeks. But let's be real, they're not on point for a good 3 or 4 months. And there's still a lot of work. And then all of a sudden, everything clicks. It all comes together. I got a guy right now that we got a week left in the month, and he's already sold $380,000 this month. He didn't start off that way, but it all just clicks, and you get good at something. It's just like we talk about running a business. He was great, 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 but he couldn't get referrals to save his life. Right? It was a thing. We sat down, we worked on it. We spent a couple of months. Well, those referrals doubled his income. He was still doing great. He was making great money before that. So you have to always give that support and that help, and you got to be there. And they have to know that when you call, you're going to answer the phone. And it blows my mind. I will have reps out in the field who are absolutely angry if they feel their homeowner is not being loved and taken care of. And once you get to that point, I mean, you just look at it and go, that's a win.
Yeah. And that's what you want. And that, like, it's that old adage, like, people, you want a sold person, not a salesperson, right? But they have to be sold on the services that you provide, the level of the quality of workmanship that you can do, things like that. So now we have the sales reps, but a lot of it, like you said, you're writing the estimates in-house or doing those types of things. You're taking some of the technical skill set off of the sales rep and bringing that with the in-house team. And let's talk about that team a little bit more. Sure. How are you structuring that? Who are the key roles that you have in that on that team?
We've got one person that all he does is nonstop, does the Xactimate, writes the estimate, puts together the entire packet for the insurance company. Typically, we have got that in the desk adjuster's hand before the adjuster comes out in the field. Take a paper file, like, here's everything. Basically, we've done your job, everything down to the codes. When we get the scope from the insurance company, he then goes, here's the scope, here's my Xactimate. These things don't match. Where's the difference? Hey, Mr. Adjuster. So he handles all of that. So again, my sales reps aren't dealing with that negative. They're not dealing with the loss, right? You're out there to go help people. You shouldn't be dealing with the drama. We've got a young lady in our office that she is customer service. Her job is she answers the phones. She, is on our Facebook. She stands on top of our marketing. And we kind of learned, again, that trial and error, that failing, that customer service person also needs to coordinate your production. Because guess what? That customer service person is talking to the homeowner through the entire process, and now you hand off production to somebody else. That don't make no sense. So she schedules our production, stands on top of that. And then, of course, we got somebody here that handles AR. I've got an operations manager who basically puts up with me. I go out here with my chaos and go, I want this to happen, or why is this happening? And she is very, very meticulous in making sure that these other people, mesh together. We've got a CFO that handles all of the finances. So, she oversees AR and accounts payable and payroll, et cetera. And then we've got, for each branch, we've got a manager, and that manager understands your job is not to be a boss. Your job is to help your people in the field and make sure there's a good transition of information from field to office. That's your job. And we'll probably need more people as we keep selling more roofs. The office staff is going to grow. We just, we opened up in a 1,400 square foot building, and at exactly our 1 year anniversary, had to get a 10,000 square foot building. So I don't know. What's tomorrow going to bring?
That's right. 20, 50,000 or 10,000 in every city. It depends on how
I don't want to pay those rents. Those leases get up
there. So we talked about that. So that's your core group, right? You have this core group, that first in-office team that you mentored. How do you find the right people for those roles?
Again, we have what we call our shared values. So we look for, and we believe that shared values are, we live them at the company, but you also have to live those in your personal life, at least to some degree. So, if during that staff interview process, Anybody, and it's a collective interview, right? We're all working together, so everybody involved is going to be in this interview process, and it can be a little bit intimidating, unfortunately. And if one person goes, "Hey, look, I just don't get a feel that they cool, find the next one." And then what happens is you have the greatest plan. I'm going to hire this person, and I'm going to write their SOP, and this is their job description, and here's the job, and you're going to find out that there's something they suck at, or there's something they excel at. And I think too many people try to shove a person in a job description instead of finding somebody's strengths and capitalizing on those. So I will spend about the first 3 or 4 months really watching someone. And again, the girl who right now is our customer service person, you know, I'm constantly hearing how great she is on the phone and how what a pleasure she was to work with. I mean, when your office staff is mentioned by name in your Google reviews, right? And so we learn like that's her strength. So why is she doing this other crap, right? This isn't her strength. So let's expand her strength, and now we hired somebody else to handle this stuff. And you have to be willing to be flexible. Look for the value. Um, you know, the greatest salesperson doesn't make the greatest sales manager, right? Greatest sales manager is not always the greatest salesperson. You know, the greatest, you know, accountant may come from the person that you hired to, you know, be the maid on Saturdays. Who knows, right? You have to just step back and observe, and then see if you can cultivate.
I think you mentioned I think you mentioned to me one time like it's like building a Super Bowl team,
100%.
right? Like, and that's what that's that when you're looking at your team and your business. I love that analogy because look, hey, we're lacking at, at left guard, right? We're, that's how they're getting through every time. We either have to fill that with a different position. We could move someone around. We could, go and recruit someone for that position. Like you can, if you, I love that analogy. And when you're just looking for and watching the person's skill sets,
Yeah.
right? I was, oh, what was it? I saw like a clip this over the weekend. It was a football player who was playing like outside tackle now, but in high school he played quarterback.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that. He's playing football, right? But he was not suited for this role. He was suited for that role. And understanding that and making those shifts and seeing people's strengths, that's man, that's powerful.
Yeah, and again, I watched that with my own son when he played high school ball. You know, he spent the first couple of years on the defensive line, adequate, and senior year they're like, "Hey, you need to be on the O line." And as an offensive lineman, I watched this kid make offensive player of the week. Right? You have to look for the strengths and weaknesses. Just because you're not great on the defensive line doesn't mean there's not a place you can be great at. And we don't do this enough with people that we employ. It costs a lot of money to hire and train somebody, Jim. You know, and I've seen it in these businesses. You know, well, this person just they do this one thing wrong. It pisses me off. It gets on my nerve. We're going to fire them and start all over again. And you're going to start all over again. And you're going to start all over again. You're going to start all over again. And you wonder why you don't have that cohesion on your team.
Mm.
Um, yeah, there's sometimes you have to let somebody go. I mean, that's business. Like we understand that. But I think sometimes we knee jerk to do that. I think sometimes we make those decisions based on emotion instead of based on logic for what's better for the company. Um, you know, and my staff may hear this later, so I want to quantify. I'm about to say I love everybody that works here, but Jim, I don't have to like you for me to see value in you. I we can be completely opposite in everything we believe and think and feel, but if you bring value to what you do in this building, I mean, I got you 100%. I've got your back. I'm going to support you. And I think that too many times we try to especially getting started in any business, we want to, you know, bring in like-minded people. Number one, if your inner circle thinks exactly like you do, you need another inner circle, right? There's no challenge to that. And I am living proof to that, because if you hung out with me, then you met my closest friends. You go, how in the hell are y'all friends, right? But it um, still trying to figure out why my wife married me. I mean, she's light years ahead of me on so many levels, right? But there's that challenge, and you have to have that challenge in the building as well, right? You have to have that challenge in your staff. That, look, you may not be good at this part of the thing I'm paying you for, but I see some glimmer over here. Let's look at this. And again, let's make the job fit the person instead of the person shoved into the job description.
Yeah, that's awesome. What do you think the greatest insight is that you could share with the audience that's helped you find success with Dragon Scale?
It's kind of a personal mantra, if you'll know the truth. Every day, do good things. Just don't take any crap. And that's very, very basic. Our success is we try to do good things. Our supplier, I don't buy the most from our supplier. Our supplier is constantly doting on us, and why? Because your stuff is clean. You don't ask us to jump through hoops. You send POs way ahead of time. You communicate. You do good things, right? Um, and again, when there's an issue, all right, here's the problem. This has to be addressed, has to be fixed. There has to be accountability. Um, excuses are nothing but lies we tell ourselves, and it got to be our fault. So I don't hear your excuses. Let's work on the solution. And you also have to be self-aware enough to know that I can't hire you and hold you to this standard if I'm not willing to be this standard. I cannot ask you to come in and clean the toilets if you've never watched me clean the toilets. And I think we have a lot of that happens. And there is a pre-COVID, man, we could hire people all day long. It is a completely different world right now. Completely different. I think, we have probably seen more entrepreneurs come out of COVID in the last couple of years than we've seen probably in the last 10 to 15 years. And I don't think it's going to change. We have all this technology. So if I'm bringing you in, it's got to be more than I'm trading a paycheck for time, right? There has to be buy-in, and there has to, again, go back to, joy at work. There's got to be, some empowerment. There's got to be some trust. There's got to be, look, this is yours. I'm not going to stand over you. I'm here to help. And I think just taking that entire attitude through the entire culture of the company, from the newest sales rep all the way to the people that help me open these doors. And again, being self-aware enough and putting my own ego aside, that when I step out of line, because we're human beings, I mean, we screw things up. My staff on multiple occasions has come to me and said something negative, and my gut reaction is immediately I'm a little bit pissed off, and I will take a few minutes, and I have to come back and go, you know what? I didn't realize that this is the way I was doing things. It's a hard pill to swallow, but you're right. Let me work on that growth and that change. So I mean, I think the secret to it is when you build a Super Bowl team, it's not necessarily star athletes. It's athletes that you can trust and that have heart and have give a damn. And a lot of people have that intuitively, but a lot of people are going to guard that. Why should I give you my 100% just for $1? I'll give you my 100% when I see you're giving me your 100%. And if I knew how to write that out into a paragraph or a book or whatever, we could absolutely change the industry. And it's just, a lot of it is just being intuitive, listening to people, um, just being a decent human being. But at the same token, not being afraid to go, hey, no, this is a line. We don't cross this line. We can't do this. You made this mistake. Okay. This one we can't do again. Like this one's off limits, right? Um, and it's no different than any other relationship. We tend to own a business and look at our employees our servants, our underlings, our minions, you can't get away with that at home, right? You don't look at your spouse that way. Apologize for that. There's an alarm going off on my phone. We don't look at our kids that way, or at least I hope to God we don't. So why do we look at the people that we spend 8, 10, 12 hours a day with that way? Um, you know, look for the best, cultivate the best, and at the same time, don't be afraid to fire somebody. I fired top sales reps because you brought drama into my building. Drama is a cancer, and I don't do drama. I don't do disrespect. You can come and you can tell me, Russ, I think you're a complete idiot for what you just did. That's not disrespectful. That's okay. Let's have a conversation about why you think that what I did was idiocy. And I tell people all the time, the difference between disrespect and being an adult, you'll hear me say the F word. You'll never hear me say F you, right? There's the difference.
Awesome, Russ. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you would like to generate more revenue through your digital marketing efforts, please visit roofermarketers.com to get a copy of the book, The Best Known Roofer. Also, check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to how to properly set up your Google My Business listing. Thanks for listening.